Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about what should you do 90 days before you take your medical coding certification exam. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Okay, guys. So, if you have been with my channel for a while or if you are brand new, the advice I give people who complete a medical billing and coding program, because they give me the question of how long should I study and prepare before I take my medical coding certification, I personally recommend 90 days once you've completed your program, anywhere in between that 90 days to take your medical coding certification exam. The reason that I give you 90 days or say take only 90 days before you attempt your first attempt at the medical coding certification exam is because the longer you wait to take a medical coding certification exam after you've completed a program, the more likely you are to forget a lot of stuff. So, because people, once they complete school, all of a sudden a lot of them stop studying. Now, some of you continue to study, and I'm so happy and proud of you for that. But there's a lot of you that stop because it's like, okay, school's over. I don't have to worry about this. Now I just have to take the certification exam. Oh, I'll take it in a month. And then a month goes by. Oh, I'll take it in a couple months. A couple months goes by, and by the time you know it, it's a year or 2 years. I get the emails, guys, trust me. But there is hope, okay, guys? There is hope. 90 days, within 90 days, if you graduate your program and you look at that calendar, you look 90 days out, and you have your test date set, now that's part of a good path that you're leading yourself on. Because if you tell yourself, oh, I'll just wait, and you never give yourself an end date, therein lies the problem, because a lot of people will not have that discipline to get back on track to study so that they can sit for their certification exam. Now, some people will say, well, Blue, I can't afford to take the medical coding certification exam. You know, once you start a program, that you will have to pay to take a certification exam. For some schools, it's included, others it's not. You have to pay for it on your own. And depending on which association you're going through, the American Health Information Management Association or the American Academy of Professional Coders is going to depend on how much you're going to spend. But that's a whole completely different thing I'm not going to get on to right now. My thing is this: set a date, 90 days from when you complete your program to take your exam, okay? So that way you have a date to focus on. Now what do you do? In this 90 days, in this time frame, you are going to study 20 hours per week. Now, if you say, Blue, oh no, I work a full-time job, I got a family to take care of, I don't have 20 hours to spare. Yes, you do. 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at lunchtime, 30 minutes in the afternoon, and then you have 2 hours in the evening time, whatever hours you want to spend, okay? But you don't study for more than 1 hour at a time, okay? Minimum of 30 minutes, maximum of 1 hour at a time, right? And if you do this in a single day, that's 3.5 hours in one day that you've done. In 5 days, that's 17.5 hours. And all you need is 2.5 hours on the weekend. And that's it. You've done your studying for the week and at 20 hours. At the end of those 90 days, it's 240 hours you will have spent studying, versus a person who's making excuses and saying, oh, I can't, I don't have time, and I can only do 5 hours a week, I can only spare this or spare that. But, and let's be honest here, guys, because we're all adults here. We know we do this. Some of us procrastinate. Some of us are scrolling around on TikTok or whatever social media thing you got going out there. I don't recommend TikTok because TikTok lessens your attention span, okay? You do too many of those where you're sitting there for an hour, these little 7-second clips, little 5-second clips, or however long it is, and it shortens your attention span because you just want to get to the point. Well, while I understand that because I'm very much get to the point type of person, I know that you have to have detail. And so stay away from things like that that are sucking up your time, that's making you lose those precious minutes that you could be studying, okay? So just take the time to study. And like I told you guys, 20 hours per week. And then by the end of those 90 days, it's 240 hours, right? 240 hours, 80 hours a month times 3, 240 hours, okay? Versus a person that's maybe putting in maybe 20 hours in a month, right? only 60 hours, and from the time they finish to the time that they, guys, there's a huge difference between 60 hours and 240 hours. You want to be set up for success. And during this 90 days, this is going to develop you even more with that discipline, okay? Now, you can work on workbooks. You can work through with your books. I've done videos demonstrating on how to work with the book as far as like looking through each chapter. You don't have to write, you don't have to tab, you don't have to highlight, you don't have to do any of those things. All you have to do is get familiar with things where they are in the book, because the 4 main medical coding certifications, the CCS, the gold standard of medical coding credentials, the CCA, the Ccs-P, and if you're going with AAPC, the CPC, all of them allow you to take your medical coding manuals with you, okay? Your ICD-10-CM, your CPT, and your HCPCS book. And if you're taking a inpatient side test, the ICD-10 PCS book, they allow you to take those in there with you. So make sure that you know forward and backward where everything is, okay? And for my folks who are getting the test manuals for with AHIMA, the CCS, the CCA, or the CCS-P, the book that comes from AHIMA, if you are getting too dependent on those books, I will caution you that if you are say, well, I bought the CCS exam prep book. Guys, I want you to understand something about those prep books that the associations do, especially with AHIMA. It's meant to prepare you. It is not meant to say, these are the things that are on the exam. Now, before you say, well, Blue, that's just common sense. There's a lot of people who will write to me very upset and say, Blue, I spent all this money to get this exam prep book and none of those questions were on the test and I memorized that whole book. Okay. With AHIMA, particularly with AHIMA, those questions are about critical thinking and recall. So you're supposed to be able to know how to navigate your books. You're supposed to know about HIPAA, OIG, and all of those things, MSDRG and DRGs and all that good stuff if you're taking the CCS or the CCA. You're supposed to know about all of that. You're supposed to be able to recall that. You're not supposed to memorize questions that are in a test prep book that AHIMA wrote. Because if that was the case, then everybody could pass these exams. There would be no way to gauge the person's knowledge. So that's why they say it's recommended that you have experience if you're sitting for something as high as the CCS-P or the CCS, but it's not required. And a lot of people will write me and still want to argue and say that, oh no, they say, it says it's recommended. Recommended says you should, but it's not required, okay? Go through the workbooks that I have recommended. They're in the description box below. The American Hospital Association ICD-10 and ICD-10 PCS Coding Handbook with the answers. The link is in the description box. The CPC Study Guide, whether you are sitting for an AHIMA exam, the CCS, CCA, CCS-P, or even if you're sitting for the CPC, everybody can use that book to practice CPT coding. Because we all use the same CPT book. It's just the only difference is that AAPC wrote that book. Now, I am not with AAPC. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I am not certified with them. I will never be certified with them. But I am a person who loves medical coding. So when I see something that is really good, that can help medical coders, I'm all about that. I'm going to make sure y'all know, because that's the right thing to do. I'm not this East Coast, West Coast thing that, oh, I only recommend AHIMA products or I only recommend AAPC products. No, guys. That's not the way to be. There's a lot of people out there like that. And if that's them, that's them. But this is me, guys. This is me. And I'm going to tell y'all what I think is good and what is not good. And I'm going to be very blunt about it because that's just who I am. So, with that said, use those 2 books. Work through them, okay? Don't waste your time on the CCS prep book. If you're taking the CCS book, the CCS exam with the AHIMA, don't waste your time on the exam prep book, okay, guys? Because the way that it's written, it's got exercises in it, and you can use it certainly, but don't depend on it, and don't use that as your way of saying, okay, if I did really good on this practice test, then I'm going to do really good on the exam. You know, I heard from somebody who was thinking very arrogantly, and I say arrogant because, well, He was like, oh no, I did really good on the CCS exam prep book, so I should pass the test. Well, come to find out, he wasn't studying and he failed. All because he had that false sense of security because he did good on a practice workbook. Don't be like that guy, guys. Don't be like that, okay? Make sure that you are putting in those 20 hours per week of study. Work through the workbooks. Work through looking up the codes, because that's what's going to get you faster. We all know that these exams are timed exams. So the biggest part about people preparing for these exams is, well, Blue, I read too slow or I overthink myself. If you're doing like I'm explaining to y'all as far as studying the 20 hours per week, reading the coding guidelines once per week, working through those workbooks, the ones that I've mentioned already. If you're doing all those things, that will prepare you a lot better than you just thinking that, oh, I need to do these little speed tactics that you hear about. And oh yes, do this and what are these shortcuts? Guys, that's not the way to be. When you are doing shortcuts, that's what's tripping up a lot of people. And then they get mad when they don't pass, or if they do pass, guess what happens? They do pass that test, okay, using little shortcut methods. But then when they get out in the real world and they're tested again by the employers, because they got to be able to gauge your knowledge base. We work in a knowledge-based field, so expect it. Don't be like those people who gets upset because you have to take a pre-assessment test. Even me, as somebody who's a 14, 15-year veteran already, I would have to take an assessment test. Even having all of these years, I would still be tested because the employer needs to know. Okay? Not everybody has a vast knowledge base, all right? That's why they have to test you. So that you don't end up in that bucket of people that are failing even though they have a certification. Well, I couldn't get a job because I couldn't pass the assessment test. What do I do? Then you go back to the books, guys. You go back to those workbooks and you start practicing again. You look through the book so you know where everything is at. The person who's been practicing with the book is going to be a lot faster than the person who's going to go in there so nervous and fumbling with their books because they haven't been practicing. They knew they should have been practicing as soon as they walk in that door. And they're just like, oh my gosh, I got so nervous and I'm already a nervous test taker. Then they get on that hamster wheel of, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. But if you are studying 20 hours per week, in the 90 days before you go and you sit for your certification exam, you are going to be more prepared. And for my folks that are already prepared and you're saying, well, Blue, I don't want to wait 90 days. If you are ready, as soon as you graduate your program, by all means, go ahead. Go ahead. My message is mostly for those that are unsure. And there's a lot of people that are unsure as soon as they get out of their program. And then they tell me, Blue, my program was only 4 months. I know you say not to do 4-month programs, but I thought I could do it. And now I'm not ready and I'm confused and I don't know. I will also be doing another video about how to set up your own study group. Okay, guys? There's some few things that you need to know because there's people who will like reach out on Facebook and things like that looking for people, and then it's just set up all wrong, and then all of a sudden they just wonder why everything goes awry. So, like I said, this message is meant to prepare you, okay? Use that 90 days to study. Make sure that you have that date already locked in. Pay for your test as soon as possible so that you can, it's already paid for, and then you're just ready. And before you, a couple days before you have to go to your place wherever you have to take your test at, whether it is Pearson VUE or whether it is at a location for AAPC, you want to make sure that you scope out the area, take a run over there and see where you have to go, so that way the day of the test you've already gone to the place, you know where it is, and you can feel that sort of relief feeling that I know where I'm going, and this is just about, okay, just taking the test and being there and being prepared and ready. Make sure that the day of your exam that you eat a proper breakfast. Don't eat something too heavy or too light, but you still need to eat something because you're going to be hungry. Okay, guys, these tests, The majority of them, the CCS, the CCS-P, and the CPC are all 4-hour exams. The CCA is a 2-hour exam, but don't let its size fool you guys. The CCA has the most domains of all medical coding certification exams, so something to think about. But make sure that you know that. If you are testing at home with AAPC, make sure that everything is working like it's supposed to. They're very particular about the angle of the camera if you're taking an AAPC test online at home, and just make sure that your area is proper and it's secure and things like that, so that way you don't have any mishaps. I personally do not recommend taking your test at home. People have different reasons why they do it, but I personally don't recommend it because anything could happen. And you don't want to be all of a sudden on the test day, it's even more anxiety, okay? Minimize those things. Go to the place. That's what I would recommend anyway. But if you have to take it at home, again, make sure that everything is working good. Your computer, your camera, everything is all ready to go so that you don't have any mishaps on that day. Okay, that's just my advice anyway. But take that time, those 20 hours per week, so that way you can make sure that you are going to be prepared. The person who is studying for 20 hours is going to be a lot more prepared than the person who is not studying 20 hours per week. And I say 20 hours. Some people, when I break down the schedule to them, they go, oh, I can do more than that. I really kind of don't recommend doing that, only because you don't want to tire yourself out before the test, okay? You don't want to do that. And you don't want to neglect your family, because you still want them to be able to support you and your goal of getting this certification so that you can become a medical coder. Oftentimes people think that they need to, not spend time with their family and, oh, I'm trying to study and all this and all that. Well, then all of a sudden these problems start to arise because family members start to feel like, you're not paying attention to them, and they feel resentful because you are doing something new for yourself, and this is taking all of your time away. Make sure that you all are conscious about that. Make sure that you spend time with your loved ones so that they can continue to support you. Having a good support system when you are a medical coding student is critical. I think it's more critical than people let on. And not everybody has that. There's going to be people that are going to be not supportive of their journey. There's going to be people who are jealous, people who are going to try to keep that person small and try to keep them, only doing certain things. And, oh no, they're going to be, going out and doing all these things. Guys, I've seen it. When I was in school, it was horrible to hear stories like that, where people's parents, people's spouses or their significant others were giving them a hard time. I was extremely fortunate that my mother was so supportive of my journey, and she is the reason that I am a medical coder today. So, if you do have a really strong support system, thank them. Thank them for all of the time and energy and support and encouragement that they are giving you, so that way they know that they are appreciated. And it's just a good thing to do. It's a good thing to let people know that you appreciate them and all of their efforts for the things that they've done for you, okay? Sometimes we forget about that as human beings. We forget to do those things. And you don't want to be that way, because the more you put off this grateful energy, the more good things that will come to you. And I truly do believe that, because when you look at your career and even just barely starting a career, there's a lot of things that happen during this time that is meant to develop you. And as you get more disciplined, you'll understand what I'm saying when you get into the real world and you start to see that how all of these things are important: the study time, the support system. And if you don't have a support system, it's okay, guys. It's okay. There's plenty of people who find support in other ways. Some people have told me, Bleu, it was your videos that encouraged me when my family members didn't believe in me. And that touches me. I am very happy and thrilled that people look to my videos for that encouragement, that support, that tough love that I do give a lot of times that people sometimes don't expect. But I look at it like this, guys. Your time in a career goes by just like that. Same thing with life. Goes by just like that. And by the time you know it, you're looking around and what did you do? What did you accomplish? Did you achieve what you wanted to? And did you spend your time doing things that fulfilled you intellectually? Okay? And those are the things when you look back on, did you take the time to look around and see, am I present with where I am in my career? Am I doing all of those things? And that's why I say, guys, if you have to find encouragement elsewhere, and you look and you find encouragement in the small things like in these videos, that's great. And you keep doing it and you keep going, because there's going to be a lot of people who will try to discourage you for whatever reason. They're going to try to discourage you, but you don't let those people have an inch in your mind as far as what you're going to be able to do. It's your career, your life, your journey. You can do this, but you have to put in the time. You have to put in the energy, and don't expect other people to constantly be encouraging you, because we all know that a lot of times that doesn't happen, especially with adult learners. But you can do whatever it is that you want to do, and when you find your way and you get out there and you start passing your exam, and you find your first job and you get your first promotion and you get all these things, that's when you're going to see that it was all worth it. And yes, it is worth it. At least this is my advice anyway. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up, but I will be doing that video on how to set up a study group, so that way you guys know what to do and what to look for. But I'm going to wrap this one up for right now. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.